Hi, everyone. It is Mike, the Heal Your Gut Guy, and I have a special guest with us today. His name is Josh.
What's happening?
Yeah, so Josh had really bad Crohn's colitis, and he kind of tried just about everything. I'll let him share his story, but he introduced me to German new medicine, and I mean it's just like crazy results. I think it's really a lot easier to get results with German new medicine, but I'll let you take the stage now.
Yeah, no, I mean it was one of those desperation moments. I mean, you and I have been kind of talking since I think like December of 18 or January of 19, somewhere in there. I remember
Yeah,
I
yeah,
reached out to you. And yeah, life sucked for a while, to
yeah,
put it bluntly.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I guess I can kind of recount. If you've been in the group for a while, you've seen posts from me back in the day. I haven't posted quite as much because when I understood this German new medicine stuff, I remember I reached out to you, Mike, and I was like, hey, dude, I love your stuff, but this kind of flies in the face of some things that are working really well for me. You want to talk about this?
I did not like it the first time I saw it. I was like, I was like, what is this?
Yeah, like, because it seems like, oh, just sit in the corner, think good thoughts, sprinkle ashes on your head, and all this stuff
Yeah,
goes away. It's like, that ain't
yeah,
how it works.
yeah. But it's what's funny is it's not like your average think happy thoughts and
Yeah.
meditate. It was made by a German. It's very
Logical and practical. And
yeah. Truth is
yeah.
stranger than fiction when you follow, because you can kind of bend the truth a lot with statistics. This
Hmm.
guy was not, Dr. Hammer, who founded German New Medicine. He was going off of, he was creating statements and logic to follow through with like 100%. I wasn't going to write something down on paper unless it was true 100% of the time.
Well, and he started from what a position of a doctor or anybody who's going to do anything great should do. I'm
Hmm.
genuinely curious. Let me ask a question and look for an answer without any preconceived notions. And then
Hmm.
let me see what I find and then let that dictate what my next question is. And when you do that, you uncover some crazy stuff. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, so I guess if I go back and kind of talk about my story, I'll send you the picture that we talked about, Mike. So
Hmm.
anybody who's in here that's like, oh man, well, he wasn't really that sick. This was a rough ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
The condensed version, I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis back in 2007, and immediately was super sick, bloody diarrhea, and didn't know what the heck was going on. I was really healthy. I played football, and I was about 180 pounds. I was jacked. I'm way skinnier than I am, way skinnier now than I used to be,
Hmm.
and but lost all of that and didn't know what the heck was going on. Obviously at that point in time, I did the conventional, well, go to a doctor. Let's see what an expert has to say. And when I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, they did the whole, steroids and all of that stuff, and it didn't work. I literally did nothing, and so I sought a holistic path. And with changes of some diet and a couple of, I should say, with a lot of supplements, it was like $500 a month
Hmm.
in supplements. Was able to kind of turn things around, and it was kind of mild. And so for 2 years, I was able to live pretty normal life. And now understanding German new medicine, I can see the patterns of what put me back. But
Hmm.
at the time, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just started getting really sick again. And I was like, what the
Hmm.
heck? I haven't changed my diet. What's going on here? Turns out I had been diagnosed with a new disease called primary sclerosing cholangitis, which was a liver
Oh,
issue.
wow.
On top of the diarrhea, I got super yellow. Everything was horrible. And then again, went to another holistic doctor, spent a crap ton of money on supplements, changed my diet, got even stricter, and was able to live a relatively normal life. I just pooped a lot. That was my friends. Everybody just
Hmm.
joked, oh, Josh just goes to the bathroom a lot. And I was
Hmm.
skinny, which I wasn't a fan of, but
Hmm.
whatever. Um, and so then in 2017, I had started a business and was starting to make a little bit of money. I had a little bit of freedom. And I said, I believe the body heals. I'm going to really start to tackle this. I want to actually figure this out once and for all and live a normal life. I saw my friends eating McDonald's, or my brother that used to drink more calories and beer than I would eat in a full day, and he was healthier than me. And I was like, something doesn't add up here. Let me figure this
Hmm.
out.
Hmm.
And so I started seeing a holistic doctor. I cut out in one day. I went to see him. I cut out all caffeine, all sugar, all gluten, all dairy, and there was something else. I can't remember what it was. And by noon the next day, I felt like I got hit by a truck. Like I was
Oh,
just
wow.
dead for a couple of days. It sucked. And I started seeing some decent results. Immediately, things did improve for a little bit, but then there was always like some sort of hang up where things would get worse. And then I had to get stricter, and then like I had to get really strict, and it just kept going nuts. And I started working, when I say I did everything here, I worked with a local holistic doctor. I then read Ginny Patel Thompson's stuff and tried her Absorb Plus shakes. Then I started working with Dane Johnson as a consultant, and he's a great guy. Gave me a ton of helpful information. He taught me a lot about how the body works and stuff. But his program wasn't even working anymore. And then it really came crashing down in October of 2018. I developed a fistula.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where things went really sideways really fast. Super painful, as you know, Mike. They suck. You're in constant pain. It's like terrifying every time you go to the bathroom because you're literally like running water through an infected wound, and it's like
it's
crazy painful. Yeah, it really sucks. And so when that happened, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I went to the doctors, and actually back up, my business partners at the time were forcing me to go to a real doctor because they were frustrated that I was costing the company money, which was a legitimate concern. And I wasn't doing the stuff necessary. I was following all this quackery. And so I listened. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. I don't think it's going to work, but I'll go to a doctor. And they put me on, what the heck is that stinking strong antibiotic?
Cipropro or something?
No, not Cipro. The other one that they use. There's Cipro.
Flagyl.
Flagyl, yeah, that one.
Flagyl. Flagyl's my favorite. Yep.
Yeah. So they put me on Flagyl and prednisone, and that calmed down the symptoms at first, obviously because my body was like just being totally pumped up. But what resulted is things got even worse. And so at Christmas time of 2018, I, had come off the antibiotics and come off the prednisone, and things were really bad. So then I went back to my GI doctor like an idiot, and he put me on more Flagyl, prednisone, but now I was also on Percocet because I was in so much pain. And then he also put me on Entyvio, the biologic drug for reducing things because I was looking so bad that he didn't know what was going to happen. I stayed on that until April of 2019. And the problem is that when I came off the antibiotics and everything, because my immune system was so weakened, I had developed 13 different intestinal infections. Now, I say infections, understanding German new medicine, it makes complete different sense. But on my GI map test, I had C. diff, E. coli, all kinds of different things. And it was a disaster. But anyway, so I went and saw my regular doctor, and according to standard medicine, I had 13 different intestinal infections. I had C. diff, I had E. coli, I had H. pylori, I had all these different things. And what it meant was that I was, I had dropped down to 128 pounds. I was 6'2". I could eat nothing. I was going to the bathroom with bloody diarrhea 30 times a day. I wasn't sleeping more than 45 minutes at a shot. Life was miserable. I was, a mess. And, along the way after that happened, I had to sell my interest in the company because I couldn't function. My mom had to come live with me and take care of me. And when I say take care of me, I was 30 years old getting given a bath by my mom. It sucked. And I tried everything. I went to a specialty clinic where I got IVs every day. I did stem cell therapy. I tried a fecal transplant. I did a liquid diet for a whole month where I did nothing but drink Ginny's Absorb Plus shakes for a full month. Like I was committed. I had no solid food for a month. It sucked. I didn't eat at all. I just did IV nutrition. I tried all different kinds of peptides. I tried growth hormone. I did testosterone replacement therapy. I did high dose vitamin C for 2 months. I got 100 grams of vitamin C every day. I was on every diet you could imagine. Yeah, that was fun. I depleted my copper levels and sent my liver in.
I didn't know you did that much.
Yeah. I started off at 50, but if 50 is good, let's go to 100, right? Why not?
Oh God. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And I tried every diet. I did vegan for a little while. That sucked. I hope nobody's trying that route. I tried doing nothing but Kenny's smoothies. I tried the raw milk diet.
Raw milk.
I did the kefir. I did nothing but drink kefir for a couple of days. That was no fun. I did the carnivore diet for 3 months, and that didn't work. I did. It was just a mess. I got down to the point where in January of 2020 of last year, Yeah, about a year ago. Holy cow, time flies.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only things that I could eat was ground bison, um, uh, chicken breast, steamed carrots, and steamed. Oh shoot, I can't think of the what the heck? It's like a carrot, but it's not a carrot. Parsnips, steamed parsnips. Those are the
Parsnip.
only four things I could eat with salt and butter.
Uh-huh.
That was it, and that was my
Wow.
meals every single day for about 2 months. And if I deviated from it, like just to have a sip of tea or a spoonful of honey, I was in the bathroom and I was miserable.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so yeah, I along that way, fortunately, as I said, I sold my business, so I had some money. God was good to me there, and I spent over 200 grand trying to solve this problem, doing everything, and
Hmm.
I did nothing but get worse until German New Medicine. So yes,
Yeah.
that's kind of the lead up to it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, let's start talking about German New Medicine a little bit. And with my program, I really focused on making food as easy to digest and
Hmm.
taking it, like if you have like a broken leg, put it in a cast so it's under no stress, and
Right.
so get all the nutrients you need. And
Yep.
I've perfected that,
Hmm.
that like these are the most nutritious foods, put them in your mouth and swallow.
Right.
Do this to them to make them easier to digest, and
Yep.
then do these things to avoid injuring your gut.
Right.
And some people, there's about like 50% of the people who see great success with that, 25% that are like this, and then there's like another 25% where it's like your case, and like
Well,
people can't tolerate like vitamin A foods or something
right.
ridiculous.
Well, in full
And
disclosure, like
yeah,
when I came across your protocol for the first like month and a half, 2 months, it
yeah.
actually did provide me with a lot of great success. When I read the Weston A. Price stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I started drinking raw goat's milk,
Mm-hmm.
and I started eating the foods like the 24-hour yogurt the way that you make it,
Mm-hmm.
and I started eating um, uh, the properly prepared meats and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I did see a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of success when I cut out all the carbs. I cut out potatoes and stuff like that. It was just white
Mm-hmm.
rice and everything. So it did. The problem though is that I then created more tracks for myself, which
Exactly. Yeah, you're just like swapping tracks.
yeah,
So there's a so my big thing is, an inflamed gut is just an injured gut.
right.
And I wasn't German New Medicine accounts for these special programs.
Hmm.
There's no such thing as disease in German New Medicine. They're called significant biological special programs. And when you experience a DHS or a conflict shock, like a
Yep.
something shocking that catches you off guard, that's like a stressful event,
Right.
like something stressful in your business happens, or mine happened so long ago I don't even remember what it was.
Sure.
But that's what turns on the program and gives you these symptoms, because it from a survival standpoint it makes absolutely zero sense to be allergic to nutrients and energy, and no matter
Right.
like what, like food is so difficult to come across in the wild. Like it just makes no sense from a survival standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and so it's funny. Like you think about German New Medicine and the way the body works. So, from
Mhm.
my understanding, I believe in God. I'm a Christian, and as I was growing up, I hurt myself a lot. I used to race dirt bikes and I skateboard and all this stuff, and I've broken 16 bones. And every single time I
Mhm.
did something, it hurt for a while, but then I healed. And
Mhm.
which is one of the things that fascinated me about your program, is I was like, oh, that makes sense. When I've broken an arm, I put it in a cast and I wait a little while. There's really no way to make it easy on my gut because I got to eat every day. But yeah, that
Mhm.
makes sense. Let's make it as easy as possible. Let's let it rest and heal. The problem, though, is that according to German New Medicine, we, as Americans with our Western mindset, we look at disease as, the body's gone rogue. We've got a bad gene somewhere, or you caught a virus, or there's a bug that's now doing something, or
Mhm.
you've got toxic food in you that's causing all kinds of stuff, or all these different things. When in
Mhm.
reality, according to what I understand now, primarily disease, or what we call disease, is your body trying to adapt to a perceived situation to give you the best chance of survival. That's it.
Yep.
Now
Yep.
there's also, there could be like nutrient deficiencies, but that's way harder than we think. Like just if you
Yeah.
don't eat calcium, your body makes calcium. Like if you don't get
Yeah.
vitamin A, your
Exactly.
body can make vitamin A.
Yeah.
And so like it's insane. So there can be nutrient deficiencies, but that's way harder than we think.
It's very
Um,
rare.
And if you have massive amounts of toxic stuff, not eating an Oreo, you can
Mhm.
actually poison your body. Or like if you get punched in the face or, your arm cut off, like that'll cause some problems. But
Mhm.
primarily, and what's been true for me since I've understood this, it's not disease. It's your body perceiving a threat and doing
Yeah.
its absolute best to give you the best chance of survival. And until you
Mhm.
take away that threat and all the things that makes it think it's in that threat, you're done. And when I first came across this and I was trying to explain it to some people, they were like, no way. Like, there's no way that, Josh, as sick as you are, it's all in your head. And I was like, well, think about this. Have you ever been scared about, like, just you've been frightened for a second?
Mhm.
Well, yeah. Well, what happens? Immediately, when you think that your life is in danger, you get this pit feeling in your stomach, your adrenaline rushes, your blood vessels dilate, your heart
Mhm.
starts pumping faster. And that's the fight or flight response.
Mhm.
Everybody knows that. Everybody's experienced that. And what happens is your subconscious mind perceives a threat. And before you have time to even think about what has happened, what's going on, your brain directs all these different things in your body to prepare you for what it thinks you have to do next.
Mhm.
That's a special program. It just is
Yeah.
something that is more common and resolves very quickly so it doesn't turn into disease. But when we have something like we lose a loved one or we lose our job or we're concerned about where our income is going to go or all of our plans for the future are gone or when somebody does something to us that completely fundamentally changes our relationship with them, like
Mhm.
that catches us off guard and we don't resolve it as soon as we turn around and realize, oh, okay, nobody's breaking in. My dog just knocked over a pipe. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like that
Mhm.
resolves very quickly versus when somebody that you've loved for 10 years that you thought cared about you completely stabs you in the back or does something like that. That
Yeah.
changes things for a while and might take
Yeah.
a long time to resolve. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, so we like our body has like these normal programs like to have a
mhm,
thought or to breathe or to sniff or to taste. Like those are just like normal programs that run all the time. But when
yeah,
this stressful, shocking situation happens to you, you're so in the case of like Crohn's or colitis, it's called
yep,
an indigestible morsel conflict.
yeah,
So your gut is going to start proliferating cells, developing more cell tissue in the gut to help you
hmm,
digest this indigestible thing in your life. It could be an actual food in your gut, but
hmm,
modern humans can, most
yeah,
things are figuratively, and so it's trying to help you digest this indigestible morsel.
yeah,
And then when it gets resolved, that's when the body gets rid of these extra gut cells, and that's when you get all the fun symptoms.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, and that's the case for Crohn's and colitis. It's different for different organs. Um, but yeah, let's talk about like some of the results you saw when you first went on a German new medicine.
yeah. Well, so, I mean, in order to do that, so yeah, so let's talk about the results, but then I want to go back to kind of practically like when I understood it, like how I kind of worked through
Okay.
this, because I
Okay.
think that a lot of people, and myself included, make it way more difficult than it has to be. And I
Yeah.
want to make sure I give
Yeah.
some practical things about like what actually was easy to uncover some things from it. But yeah, so
Okay.
the first thing, it's funny. So the sequence of events, I found German New Medicine in May of 2019. And January, I was super strict on my diet. February is when I tried the liquid diet of nothing but the Absorb Plus shakes. And went, just so you guys know, I was drinking the unsweetened vanilla Absorb Plus shakes, which
Ay,
literally like pee. It is disgusting.
ay,
Okay.
ay, ay.
So I
Okay.
did that. And then in March and April, I had kind of started trying to have like chicken again, but every time I tried something, it wasn't working. So I discovered German New Medicine. And when I had the first conversation with Melissa, who we've talked about a couple of times,
Uh-huh.
um, she was telling me how different things worked. And I said, okay, wait a minute. So let me understand this straight. Food has nothing to do with it. And if I just kind of tell myself that I can eat this stuff, like I'll be fine. She was like, yeah. And obviously the conversation was a little longer. So I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
a bacon, egg, and cheese croissant for dinner. And I
Nice.
remember loving every second of it and then
Mm-hmm.
sleeping through the night without any issues. And I was like, okay, I'm going to the bathroom like every 2 hours here. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden I ate something that's like forbidden
Mm-hmm.
and it was great. And
Oh
so,
wow.
um, when I finally understood it, I kind of journaled everything, and I had tremendous symptoms that got like way worse for about 2 weeks. But then I had a formed stool, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I had pancakes for breakfast, and not fermented sourdough good pancakes. Like I had Bisquick with store bought milk pancakes and
Mm-hmm.
Aunt
Mm-hmm.
Jemima syrup, and I just had a formed stool. How the heck does this work?
Oh, wow.
And I went, I said I lost a whole bunch of weight, so the stem cells kind of pulled me out of dying.
Mhm.
So I was kind of surviving at like 140 pounds, and in 3 weeks I went from 140 to 160 pounds, which is what I am now.
Wow.
I was able to get up to 175, but I was like eating myself sick, and I was just basically just gorging because I had been so deprived for so long.
Yeah, yeah,
And so immediately I got to the point where I was able to eat just about anything.
yeah.
And like when I say anything, I mean anything, like milkshakes and cheeseburgers and pizza and the stuff
Yeah.
I'd been loving but missing. And I was oscillating back and forth between diarrhea and somewhat formed stool. I was not going to the bathroom as much. I was able to go out and about anymore. I wasn't in pain. My fistula wasn't getting active.
Mhm.
And so all kinds of benefits, but it was short-lived
Mhm.
because I, again, for some of the advice I had gotten complicated some things, and I
Mhm.
created kind of another
Mhm.
conflict of
Mhm.
me trying to understand German new medicine. I mean, an indigestible morsel is something that cannot be broken down and absorbed, right? Like if you
Mhm.
think about like how we eat and how we process information, we take
Mhm.
something in, we
Mhm.
then break it down to where we understand how it works. And then once it's been broken down, we eliminate the things that are no longer necessary and we absorb the useful information.
Mhm.
And if you haven't broken something down to the point where you can absorb the useful information and get rid of the stuff that's not beneficial to you, it's an indigestible morsel. And
Mhm.
so I was sitting there like, okay, I got to figure out these tracks. I got to figure out this. And well, maybe this food, I can eat it. It's not like hurting me, but I'm not healthy enough to eat it yet. So like maybe chocolate needs to wait for a while, but
Mhm.
it's okay. It's not the bad food. I'm not allergic like I thought, but I just still can't do it yet. Well, no, well, what if I got these? And so like I just constantly had all this stuff. And I was like, well, I've been sick for
Mhm.
so long. Maybe I've developed other things. Is there another conflict I've got to resolve? I'm kind of mad at my dad right now. Well, what about, oh, well, this actually kind of freaked me out the other day. Maybe I'm worried about this. And so there was like all this junk that was going on. And I didn't
Mhm.
realize I'd created a new conflict for myself
Yep.
trying to figure this stuff out.
Yeah,
So,
it's almost like I kind of found it. It's like when you're in the healing phase, that's when you can create extended tracks, and you can like literally just
yeah.
make an infinite number of them. Just um, it's for me when I first got into German new medicine, and started doing it. I think I resolved some sort of conflict of finding the last piece of the puzzle in the gut health thing, and so
Sure.
I had diarrhea for like about probably like a little less than a week, and then after that, and this whole time I'm eating like pizza, hamburgers, eating
The good
really
stuff.
pushing it,
Yeah.
drinking beer, drinking wine like every night for breakfast and stuff like that.
Going against all the advice you've been teaching people for
All
years.
the
Yeah.
advice, like I'm
The
pushing it,
hypocrite.
I'm being a super hypocrite, and like I was having perfectly formed stools.
Yeah.
And then like later on, the only times I had diarrhea was when I encountered a track, or yeah, no, when I encountered a track.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
and I right now I believe my tracks to be a situation I feel frustrated in. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I feel frustrated or overwhelmed,
Yeah.
that can sometimes trigger, uh, the diarrhea,
Yeah.
and then I still have like a little hang up on coffee. So
Yeah. Well, let's go back because I want to talk about the tracks as well, because that's what's been the most kind of
yeah,
liberating thing for me recently, and it's way simpler than most people make it. As
yeah,
far as my understanding, just recently. But I want to kind of go back and talk about like for anybody who's watching this, it's like, man, that sounds great, but like, how the heck did you do it?
yeah.
There's some practical things that I did that I think would be really helpful
Okay,
for anybody.
yeah.
So when I first saw German New Medicine, it was one of those things that I read through that whole page on the Learning GNM website about the
Uh huh.
intestines and rectum and all that, and it just clicked. I was like, "This makes sense.
Uh-huh.
I understand this." And again, just full disclosure on stuff. I said I'm a believer, so I don't believe in evolution. I believe in creation. But
Hmm.
where they say things evolved, I say, or there was a designer that just had a way that he
Yeah.
built it.
Yeah.
And so as I read through that, even with that little shift, I was like, makes perfect sense.
Yep.
And immediately I knew what my conflict shock was that set me on a track. So my senior year of high school, I was getting ready to go to college, and I was going to go for a football scholarship. As I said, I was about 180 pounds. I was playing safety. I love football. I was doing really good. And I had like 12 different schools that had sent me letters of intent saying, hey, we're paying attention to you for your senior year. Like, depending upon what happens, we'll make an offer or something like that. And I hated school. I thought school was so annoying. I'm definitely an entrepreneur. I didn't do my homework. I barely paid attention enough, but I'd get A's on tests. So, whatever. But I wanted to go play football. I wasn't ready to let that dream die. Well, my senior year, in the third game of the season, I broke my arm and I had to get a plate put in. And I remember when I broke it, I went to the hospital and it was really painful. It sucked. And then 2 days later, they were like, listen, this break is, it's so basically what happened is I broke the inside bone, but the outside bone had twisted to the point where it was almost like a spring. And so every time they set it, it popped right back out again. And so they said, listen, we're going to have to do surgery to make sure that this isn't something that is, a bad long-term issue. And anyways, so I asked the doctor, I was like, am I going to play any more of the football season? And he said, if we have to put a plate in, no. If we can get it to work without a plate, then it should probably be okay. And you might be able to play the last couple of games of the season. I was like, all right. And so I remember going in for the surgery, and anybody who's ever had surgery before, it feels like as soon as you close your eyes, you wake back up again, but you're in a haze for like 15 minutes. And I remember I was like, hey, Mom. And she was right by my bed when I woke up. And I said, did they put a plate in? And she just said, yes. And I remember just losing it. I was crying for like hours. And I can remember thinking like, what am I going to do? I hate school. I'm not good at other things. All I want to do is go play football. Like, now I'm not going to get a scholarship. If I don't get a scholarship, I'm not going to walk onto a team. Like, what am I going to do? This really sucks. And that was in October of 2006. No, didn't really think about it much, but I was really angry. I was sad. I was scared about what to do in the future. I was like, I haven't planned for anything else for my future except to play football. So this isn't any good. And after a little while, in January, I was like, all right, well, screw this. I'm not going to college because if I can't play football, I hate school. What do I like? I like cars. And so I got a job at a BMW dealership as a porter, washing cars, pumping gas. And I talked to the service manager and I was like, yeah, like I like working on cars. I've been a little, gearhead my whole life. I'd work on my dirt bike and stuff. Like, maybe I could be a mechanic. And I talked to my service manager and I told him that, hey, like, maybe if I start washing cars and stuff, could I apprentice with somebody on the side and maybe become a mechanic someday? And he was like, yeah, that'd be great. And so then I kind of got excited about my future again. Like, yeah, I could work at a BMW dealership, and I liked my job and the people were really nice. And I remember within like a week or so of me getting that job and starting to get excited again, that I had my first bloody diarrhea.
Where? Oh, wow.
It happened after I went out for my sister's birthday. So in February 17th, I took my sister out for her birthday and we went to Cheeseburger, and I got a big bacon cheeseburger and a milkshake. And when I was driving home from taking her out, that's when I had my first symptoms. On the way home, I was like, man, my stomach is killing me. What the heck? And when I ran to the bathroom, I had bloody diarrhea and I was freaking out because I'd never had that before.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, okay, I must have had some bad food. Okay, I just had a cheeseburger and a milkshake. And so I immediately thought like, well, okay, I associated those things. Yeah. So anyways, as soon as I was reading German New Medicine, I was like, okay, that was the conflict. Wow, that started it. And the two things. So before, I created a whole bunch of tracks for myself around food as I, got more strict and listened to more doctors and experts. And you, Mike, thanks a lot. But I had always struggled with dairy and red meat. Whenever I didn't eat dairy or red meat, I was fine. And so when I had those thoughts, I kind of like just took a minute and realized it. And that's when my symptoms got way worse. Well, then when things started to get better and I kind of was going back and forth, I had a long period of time and I resolved some different conflicts. But recently, about 2 or 3 months ago, I sat down. I was like, okay, I know that I have resolved the main conflict there. But what the heck happened? Why did I get so sick again in 2018? Well, turns out that in April of 2018, my two business partners and I, the three of us, were looking at bringing on another business partner. And throughout the time frame until about August, I was really excited and I wanted to make him a full partner, but my other business partners weren't super like, I don't know if he adds enough value. What are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
But for my particular role, it was really valuable. And I really wanted to work with this guy. I thought he was great. And for the plans that I had and the direction I wanted to take the company, it was really important for us to do that. And so I developed a hemorrhoid in August, and that hemorrhoid is what grew and turned into a fistula. And looking back at it, I was like, oh, I was trying to mark my territory and put my stake in the ground of what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got the fistula, and we because the fistula actually ruptured after we let the guy go, Mark, and we didn't work with him anymore. And then with the way my business partners treated me and how angry I was at what I thought was a relationship where we were all working together, but clearly as soon as I wasn't able to make them money, I was not cared about the same way I cared about them. And it was obvious that I was just an inconvenience at this point. Then I got angry and was really worried about all kinds of stuff. And so I was like, oh, okay, so that makes sense. And so what I did is I wrote down, because when I realized this, I was like, oh, I actually haven't resolved that. So I do actually still have a conflict going on for all these different things. And I wrote down, I said, okay, what are 15 things that are actually good things that are a result of this? Like, because I've had enough things happen in my life. I mean,
yeah,
not to go on, but I've had enough things where I look back and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do that again, but I'm kind of glad that happened because it made me who I am. I've learned from it and I'm better because of it. And, so I was like, okay. And I wrote down 15 things like, you know what, this is a good thing. This is a good result of this. This is a good result of this. And what's interesting, I used to joke, and I still do think this is true. Had I not gone through this health experience, I wouldn't have learned about proper nutrition, about how the body works, about the psychological effects. I wouldn't have taken the time to understand like my thoughts and what I genuinely believe about myself and the world around me and how I perceive people and what front I'm trying to put on to somebody to impress somebody, or whether I am truly happy and comfortable with myself. You know what I mean? And so when I wrote all these things down, again, symptoms got way worse. But then things resolved again. As soon as like about 2.5, 3 weeks went by, everything resolved. My fistula calmed down. It was great. And then it wasn't until you and I talked right at the end of the year when I was like, I still don't understand what's going on here. Like I'm going back and forth. I feel like I know I've resolved some things, but what the heck? And that's when you were like, it's got to be tracks, dude. You've got to just have tracks that are laid down. And I was like, well, how the heck am I supposed to think about all the different tracks over the last 13 years? And, that's when you told me like, well, think about immediately when you get the feeling to go to the bathroom, what just happened? I was like, all right, fine. So I think it was like a Friday, and every single time my stomach would kind of gurgle and turn, I stopped. I was like, okay, what did I see? What did I smell? What did I hear? And the very first time I felt that after our conversation, I was like, oh, I just checked my email. Well, every time I look at my email, I'm worried about what stupid thing somebody said in my business that I've got to correct, or what problem is now going to be confronted with me. And so, and as soon as I had that recognition, the urge to go to the bathroom went away. I was like, so maybe just checking my email is a track for me, because it always makes me nervous about what do I got to do. And it creates this jump inside of me that gets me. So I was like, okay.
I like to compare it to like someone coming home from like Iraq or from a war, and every time they hear a loud noise, they're like on high alert, and that's essentially what the body is doing. It's like last time I saw an email, we had an indigestible morsel.
Do we got to get ready? I'm on alert, guys. I'm ready.
I'm ready to flush flush everything out of the digestive system. So
exactly.
That's essentially what's happening.
And so when I saw how quickly I was able to go from, oh shoot, I think I need to run to the bathroom, to, oh no, I'm fine. I was like, oh, maybe there's something to this tracks thing. And so then I started looking. All right. So then I was like, okay, there's got to be something to this tracks thing. And so I was like, every time I feel the urge to go to the bathroom now, I'm going to pay attention to every little detail. And in that one afternoon, I realized that Facebook was a track for me, because I get angry when I see all the morons recently, whether we'll consider them morons regardless of which side you're on. What?
COVID.
What's that? Yeah.
COVID.
And so, anyways, I get angry when I see that, whether it's politics or, this pandemic or anything like that. So Facebook was a track for me. Looking at my email was a track for me. My mom's voice was a track for me, because she was the one that was taking care of me while I was sick, while I was trying to figure so many things out. And so hearing her
Just in the
voice had become,
environment. Yeah.
yeah. And it's not like these tracks aren't necessarily bad things. Like I love my mom. My mom's amazing. She took
Yeah.
great care of me, but somehow my brain associated hearing her voice with, oh gosh, are we okay?
Yeah.
And then there was one more, oh, feeling of guilt. So I went to, I had cooked my breakfast and I was getting ready to go back to work, and there was a mess. I had left, like the stuff. I was like, I'll come back to this later on, but I didn't want to, I felt guilty about leaving it, and my roommate might end up cleaning it up for me because she'll do that sometimes. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And as soon as I felt the guilt in my stomach, I felt like I had to go to the bathroom. I said, wait a minute, I felt guilty. Let me clean this mess up. And I was like, oh, so the feeling of guilt has become a track for me. So anytime I feel guilty about something, like I want to do this. So anyways, when I resolved those tracks like that, I went like 8 hours without going to the bathroom. And I had been going to the bathroom pretty frequently again. And then like a couple of days later, I had a formed, beautiful stool. And I was like, okay, so clearly I have been resolving some tracks. And then, talking to, oh, I can't think of her name all of a sudden, Carolyn. I was able to understand very simply that it's not that I have to associate the tracks all the way back to whatever thing. It's that I could think, oh shoot, I ate dairy, so I can't have dairy. Well, then anytime I tell myself, well, maybe I can't have gluten, maybe I can't have this, maybe I can't have sugar, maybe I can't have aspartame, maybe I can't have whatever, your body goes, okay, we can't have that.
All right, put it on the alarm list. And
yeah. And so literally I had built up so much stuff around food that every single time I would eat, there was this little voice in the back of my head that was going, sure about that? I know you think this new stuff, but are you sure? Maybe you should be careful. Like
that's enough. Yeah. Like just a little bit of a doubt. And like, that's enough to pull cause like our body's just like in the habit of doing that.
Yeah. And so I prayed. I was like, all right, Lord, I believe that you have shown me this information for a reason. I believe there's a reason why I've gone through all this stuff. I've already learned a ton about myself. I've grown closer with you. Like there's been so many good things. And I was like, can you just show me or give me the ability to believe this stuff? And after the conversation with Carolyn, I essentially, when I would sit down, if I had a steak, I would say, okay, this is nourishing. Lots of people eat steak and they don't have problems. All the nutrients, the way that my body's designed, I can digest this. This is going to be good for me. It's not going to cause any problems. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to break it down. It's going to build my strength up. Thank you, Lord, for this food. And, it gives a whole new meaning to saying grace or saying your prayers before you eat. And I've done that, and, it sucked, but like within a couple of days, wonderful stools, calm down. So I've been able to basically get back to normal. It's been up and down. I'm not quite there yet. I've had the glimpses. I've known what's going on, and it's taken me since May. So we're almost 9 months, whatever, into this, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it is very simple when you figure it out.
Yeah, it is very simple, because I think what a lot of people gravitate to for whatever reason is like, oh, I got to resolve my conflict.
And that was me.
Yeah. But people with Crohn's and colitis, you have already resolved your conflict. It's been resolved for a long time. And conflicts are kind of like a rare occurrence. Like they happen like, for the average person, they probably only happen like a few times in someone's lifetime.
Right.
It's someone with Crohn's and colitis, like all your symptoms are coming from tracks pretty much.
Yeah.
And these are things that remind your subconscious of the original conflict shock. And the big thing that I did is I just had like a different conversation with myself when I was sitting on the toilet with diarrhea. Because like before I would just be like, oh, I didn't sourdough my bread enough, or maybe that was bad, or this was bad. Now it's like, okay, maybe it was a food. Okay, if it was a food, then all right, I just need to tell myself that food is safe.
Yeah.
I watched this person eat it, that person eat it. There's no reason why I can't eat it.
Yeah.
And then I found like a few like emotional like I think like when I get frustrated, I will, or overwhelmed, that I think that's a track for me. So I just got to like, and again, it's not like I have to resolve the conflict of feeling frustrated, like never be frustrated ever again. I have to tell myself it's safe and okay to be frustrated.
Yeah. That doesn't have to lead to this.
Yeah. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be angry about things.
Yeah.
but
Well,
it's safe.
yeah. Well, and for me, the couple of problems that I ran into is, I'm a big fan of journaling. And there was one point where I wrote down, I was like, okay, because I've been sick for so long, let me just try to relive what I think are the milestones in my mind. I
Mm-hmm.
remember in '07, I had my first symptoms. I remember in '09, I got diagnosed with primary sclerosis and cholangitis. At this
Mm-hmm.
point in time, I went through a divorce. This happened and I tried to figure this out. And then these things happened. So I was like, okay. And there was one time where I was like, wait a minute. In 2012, I was really sick. I was miserable. Full disclosure, I was going
Mm-hmm.
through, I had a business partner that was stealing money from me. I was actually
Oh,
suicidal at that point.
oh God.
And so I was like, okay, so that time was miserable. But for some reason, I remember that in August, I went camping with my cousin. And for the whole weekend, I didn't poop, which was impossible. Like I was going to the bathroom 8, 10 times a day with diarrhea. And somehow I went camping and didn't poop all weekend long. And I was like, what would have been different with what I know about German new medicine? Like when we think about the times around that event, a couple of things. Number one, I was around people that I'd spent no time around recently, my cousins. I was in a new environment where I'd never been before. And the day before that happened, I had just deposited a large check for some work from some corporate companies that we had done. So I wasn't worried about paying the bills and all the stuff that was going on that I was previously from my companies. And so I went, oh, wait a minute. I might have an existence conflict as far as worrying about money
Uh-huh.
that I didn't realize, because if I put that away, if we can talk about like the kidney collecting tubules
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
how that might complicate things. And so then I realized that just recently a new track for me is every time I go to check my bank account, I have an issue. And guess what? I check my bank account every morning to see what has been deposited, what isn't. And so I was like, oh, okay, I've got a stinking little track right there. And so what might be helpful for some people is, if you think about your disease, like think about your milestones and where
Mm-hmm.
something came up, and don't, like, it's not this chore, like you've got to figure it out. There might be nothing there.
Yeah.
Some,
I
honestly,
I can't remember my conflict check. I have no
yeah,
idea. I will never remember it. It happened before middle school, like 20 years ago. I'll never
yeah.
remember it.
And
But
and
it's not important.
I
Yeah.
believe that most people, from what I've understood now and how simple it's like, how I've seen the results, the simpler I've made it. If you simply just go, you know what, I'm going to focus on making sure that I genuinely believe I can digest this food.
Oh
I
yeah.
bet 90% of people with Crohn's colitis issues will see their symptoms go away,
Yeah.
because so
Yeah.
much of what we have been worried about and taught in life, especially anybody who's spent any time looking at holistic medicine, it's funny. That was one of my main frustrations when I got into the alternative medicine world. I was like, I think this is right, but these people don't look healthy. Like
Yeah.
all these people that are following these good diets and trying to sell me oils and stuff, like they look like
Yeah.
they're on death's door. What the heck is
Yeah.
going on? And so, like, if we just look and say, okay, because again, while I do agree that our body was designed to eat, for thousands of years, we ate sprouted grains essentially, because when they laid in the field of drying out, they
Yeah.
sprouted. For thousands of years, we ate raw milk because we just recently invented pasteurization. Sure, those things might not be as easily digestible or as good for us as, the new things might not be as good back then. But if I believe there's a God who designed everything, do I really think that he fine-tuned it only for this one way? And the second that humans make something different,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, I didn't factor that in there. Now I don't know what the heck they're going to do. Their
Yeah.
body can't digest this stuff.
Yeah.
No, come on. Like,
Yeah.
we're super resilient. Look at how the body handles all kinds of stuff. Like we need to be really harsh before we start causing some problems. And it's just our mental lock that's like, oh no, I can't digest this. And the old phrase, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. Like there's so many little things that we know about,
Mm-hmm.
we don't realize it applies to our food and stuff like that as well. So
Yeah.
anyway,
It's a lot of it's kind of like start acting like a healthy person, and a healthy person, the only thing they
doesn't,
care about is how much the food costs
yeah.
and does it taste good.
Am
That's
I
all.
hungry? Should I eat? Yes. Okay.
Am
Am
I
I full?
hungry?
Should I stop eating? Okay.
They don't think about anything else. Whereas like a healthy, health nut person is just like, how much glyphosate's in this? Da, 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 da. And it's
Yeah.
just like, and like your brain's just like on high alert, like looking for all these dangerous things and getting ready to run those symptoms for that special program on your
Yeah.
gut. So
Yeah. And I mean, like,
yeah.
let's be realistic here. Like one of the beautiful things, if you've been through, like yourself, you had a very difficult case. Myself, I had a very difficult case. Anybody who's watching this, that's been super strict and followed really tough diets, or that they've, not gone to birthday parties, or they've, been the one that brought their own food because they couldn't have any of the food, or they've turned down a bunch of dinners and they've missed out on life. Like, I mean, let's just be honest. Like, that's what we've done. You miss out on life with how we're trying to figure this stuff out. When that happens and you realize, so I can have this cupcake, I can have pizza, I can have this cheeseburger, you go off the deep end. Like I did. I remember.
I just ate a box of pizza, like literally before we got on this call. So
yeah, I drank 3 cups of coffee with French vanilla creamer with all kinds of carrageenan and all kinds of other stuff in there.
Oh, you're showing off now. Okay.
Yeah. So like I did that, but the reality is, is there healthier foods? Sure. If you have, grass-fed meat with a glass of raw milk and, properly cooked potatoes, that's probably way healthier than eating Papa John's pizza. But the way that
it doesn't matter how healthy you eat if this program is open. You're just flushing it all through you.
Yes, and that's the big thing, is that when you believe that food is dangerous or poisonous or whatever, your mind is just going, okay, this is what we believe. Let's get it out. Why not? Versus when you say, okay, this might not be the most nutritious thing for me, but it's providing me something. It's giving me calories. It's giving me energy. My body can break this down. It's fine. Like when I had a mint the other day, like one of the little wintergreen mints, I was like, okay, this isn't helping me healthy, but I'm going to enjoy it. It's going to taste good for a couple of minutes. I'm fine. We're good to go. I still eat, pasture raised eggs and drink raw milk, and I eat grass-fed beef the majority of the time. And so 90% of the time I'm eating a diet that's going to provide me all the nutrients, because I do think there's a benefit to getting healthy, easily digestible food, because my gut is injured still. Like it's in the process of repairing, but that's not the ultimate anymore. And understanding that's not the ultimate is the key to going, okay, never mind. This is actually what's going to work.
It makes it so much easier. You're not walking a tightrope. You can relax and go out with your friends and family. I find it to be really easy. And a lot of people will tell me like, oh, this is so complicated. I don't know how to like incorporate this into my life. And it's literally change the conversation you have with yourself when you're sitting on the toilet. Yeah. Expand your awareness to not just food. Yeah. I'm sure you guys all have a lot of food tracks because, that's the way we're trained. But, was I being emotional about something? Who did I come in contact with? And you will start to see a pattern.
Well, and tell me if this was the case with you. For me, I've noticed there's this weird, I don't know how to explain it, but like this, like I can, like the only way is my body kind of like jolts for a second. Like there's a pattern in my gut.
Like when I experience it, it's like I'm guessing the body has to put water into your intestines to like
flush something out.
Diarrhea. I feel the water hit my gut. Like the second it happens, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to the bathroom now.
But when that happens, you're like, okay, well, what went on? What did I hear somebody? Did I look at something? Did I feel a particular emotion? Did I just get angry? My thing being talking to Carolyn and learning about it is people have different propensities, right? So somebody will interpret something and they'll feel overwhelmed, which would be a heart issue. Somebody will interpret something and kind of like be angry about it, which would be an indigestible morsel thing. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I've had success in business and I've been able to do a lot of things because when I see a problem, I'm like a dog on a bone. I've got to get it solved. And if I've got 15 things that are hanging out there, I can like block everything out like a horse with blinders on and just focus until I solve all those problems. But when I have either a problem that's too big that I don't know how to solve, or when I feel like I'm in the middle of things and stuff throws back on my plate, or when someone adds to it because I've told them what to do and they're keep not listening to me, like I get angry. I'm like, don't you realize I've got so much going on? Like, quit doing this to me. And that was a track. Like I was like, oh, okay, I'm really impatient with this person, or, oh, okay, I need to just stop flipping out. And again, it doesn't mean that I can't get angry. It's that I don't have, that anger doesn't have to cause that where I feel something happened there.
Yeah. So, the last time it happened for me, I was at the grocery store, and I live in Ukraine. And so I can't read anything on the grocery store shelves. It's like frustrating for me, And so I had this big coat on, and, I had this stupid mask on my face, and I was carrying my groceries instead of having a cart, and they didn't have the cereal I wanted. I didn't like any of the other cereals.
No stinking Lucky Charms.
I felt like so frustrated, and then I just felt, and I was like, all right. And I wasn't upset. I was just like, oh, all right. Okay. It's definitely when I get frustrated now, because this has happened a few times now, and it only happens when I'm frustrated.
Yeah. Well, and to me, it's so cool. You know, I'm a bit of a nerd. Like I'm fascinated with like I want to know myself. Like I want to understand like what makes me tick.
Mhm.
Why do I do these kinds of things? And so for me, it's fascinating that it's a chance to really be honest and like
Mhm.
I don't want to get like super frou-frou. I'm not some self-help dude or anything like that. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I think is a big problem with why we're seeing some of these diseases, you know, if you look at the different statistics, you see, look, antibiotics have gone up and we've had these diseases and they go up. And I believe those correlations.
Yeah.
But if anything, what we've also had is the world has become so much more open, especially with, like with social media, and we're comparing
Mhm.
ourselves to everybody else.
Yeah, we have
And
like much higher expectations of ourselves now and stuff like that. Yeah.
well, not only that, everything is so scrutinized that we're
Yeah.
not really comfortable being ourselves. Like we
Mhm.
don't want like if somebody asks you a question, instead of you just giving the honest answer, you make a couple of calculations in your head and you go, okay, well, what do I want them to think about me once I give this answer? So I'm going to say this, even though I really actually believe this. And when that kind of stuff goes on forever, like you forget who you are and everything, and then you can't relax. And when you're not relaxed, then you can't get into a state of healing. And it just makes it so much easier for all
Yeah.
this other stuff to happen. And yeah, anyways, I'm getting a little bit off track
Yeah.
here. Sorry about that.
But
But
the last thing I wanted to say about the frustration thing, originally I thought like, oh, I need to just not get frustrated.
yeah,
And that's impossible. You cannot
yeah,
do that. Like, yeah, I probably shouldn't get frustrated when I can't find like my special cereal like a 2-year-old, but that's how I am. Like, I
yeah,
can't help it. I
yep,
need to convince my psyche, my subconscious, that it's okay for me to get frustrated.
hmm,
It's safe. That
yeah.
I'm not going to encounter an indigestible morsel when I get frustrated.
Yeah, I just got to break the link. There's currently a bomb that's made. It doesn't mean that any one of these things are bad. Diarrhea is
Hmm.
not bad. Getting frustrated is not bad. They're just somehow linked. Let me just break them apart and I'll be fine.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like right there, it's like not like you have to like rethink your life or develop better habits. It's just like you find the pattern and then convince yourself that it's safe.
Yeah. And it's not even like you have to go back like, oh, well, why did frustration? What happened back when I
Where
was sick?
I don't know,
No clue.
no clue.
For whatever reason, this is something I've linked. Thanks, brain. I appreciate you trying to protect me, but it's no longer necessary. We're good.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it helps to know,
Yeah.
it makes you feel better or whatever. But yeah, you don't have to do it's very simple and straightforward. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's really that simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, yep. Well,
yeah.
yeah, dude. So, I mean, that's kind of been my experience. You did mention, I forgot, I didn't realize that I was the one that kind of introduced you to the German
You
New Medicine
did.
thing. And I was so scared. I remember I stopped posting in the group for a little while because I was like, man, I am flying in the face of everything Mike teaches
I
here.
know. I saw a few of those posts. I was like, "What the hell is this?" I was like,
And I was like, hey, buddy, I got to tell you something. Like, I am not following this at all. And I'm getting really good
Yeah.
results. I know that you genuinely care about helping people. So, like, are you willing to change your perception on some things? And you did. And I
Well,
really hope that
the thing
the,
that really sold me on German New Medicine was it was backed up with proof.
yeah,
And everyone who has Crohn's or colitis, they're going to have a Hammer focus in their brain where the colon and small intestine is controlled
yeah. Oh,
on
did
their
you?
brain
So,
scans. Yeah.
and did you realize that you got headaches when you were in healing phase? Like when you would resolve something, did you get a headache?
I understand why you would have felt those. I was never a big headache person, but I understand
Yeah.
because there'll be swelling in your brain to
Yeah.
because you're like I assume that the brain is kind of like running on overdrive to kind of help process this extra information happening
Yeah.
on the organ level.
Well, until recently, I had the syndrome, which if you guys are reading around, you'll see that's the kidney collecting tubule thing, where I
Hmm.
was worried about a long-term existential thing. So I was retaining water, and so
Yeah,
I think the reason I had the headaches was because I had the extra water, so
for
that when there
sure.
was the swelling in the brain, it was exacerbated,
Yep.
and so that just created more pressure. But yeah, and
Yep.
I agree too. Like I dig into the research, so I know how to do computer programming. I know that you're a computer programmer, and so
Yep.
for us, like we want data. Like you've got to show me
Yeah.
like I'm willing to be open-minded, but you got to prove to me because I think I'm
Yeah.
right. Because so far, this is what tells me I'm right. So
Yeah.
if you're going to convince me of something otherwise, bring your A game, right?
Yeah.
And when I looked at it, I said, okay, because most people don't realize Dr. Hammer was put on trial and he had to go to court and he had to
Yeah.
prove some things. And so some of the stuff, some of the claims that he made were put on trial and proved in court.
Yeah.
And they didn't dismiss him because he lied about stuff. They dismissed him and pushed him to the ranks because they didn't like what they found.
Yep.
And
It's bad for business. So
yeah, exactly. The big companies make a lot of money, but a couple of things that blew me away. Over 6,500 patients with terminally ill cancer that the doctors gave up on them and they stopped the treatment that he started treating,
Oh,
all of
wow.
them survived. I think there was only like 2 people that died, and it was their death was like one of them was a car accident or something like that. It was like insane. Like you guys can look this up for
Oh,
yourself.
wow.
But
I haven't
yeah,
gone through these stats. That's amazing.
yeah. So 6,500 people survived their terminal illness on cancer when they came to him and understood what it was. The
Wow.
second thing was that across the board, 100% of the time, without fail, someone with a testicular cancer diagnosis had a spot on the testicular spot of their brain. With colon cancer, they had it on the colon side. With breast cancer, they had there. There was not a single time in his practice where
100%.
he found a diagnosis that didn't have the thing on the brain.
Yeah.
And then when there was some of the court cases where they basically, there was doctors, there was, I don't remember how many it was. There's like 60 different times where doctors would basically show somebody a brain scan and say, tell me the symptoms this person is dealing with. And he nailed it every single time.
Yeah.
He would basically just look at the brain scan and go, oh, they probably have this. They're in the healing phase, which means they're experiencing these symptoms. They probably just resolve this kind of conflict. And the doctors were like, okay, that's true.
Yeah,
and they might not have liked it. They might not have changed their practice around, but there's stuff and it's all on the website. And so when I saw all that, I was like, okay, this makes sense because my brother eats Entenmann's donuts for breakfast every day, drinks beer every single night, doesn't maybe eat breakfast. And if he does eat something, it's going to be processed junk that I'm avoiding here. And he's somehow healthier than me. My grandfather lived to be literally 101 month old before he died. And this man would put away a quart of ice cream every night because he had a huge sweet tooth. Like, how does that possibly work? And well, it's because it's not the stuff that we've looked at. So
well, I really appreciate you showing me German New Medicine, and I just updated our course with German New Medicine videos, and hopefully soon I'll be making normal YouTube videos where I talk about German New Medicine, because all my YouTube stuff is all old stuff now. So I gotta update everything. So
I know what it's like to live in hell, where you literally feel like you're missing out on life. You're wondering how long this is going to last, if you can survive. I mean, there was one point with the fistula when it was so bad where I was on, Percocet every 4 hours. And probably my lowest point was I was bleeding, and I something inside my colon ruptured, and I was sitting on the toilet for 2 hours because I couldn't get up because it was just straight blood coming out. And in that moment, I legit thought, oh crap, like I'm going to die. Like I'm about to meet Christ. Like, do I actually believe what I've said I've believed? And when that episode ended, that changes you, man. Like you freak out for a second. And, missing out on, events. I've missed weddings. I've missed funerals. I've missed so many things. I've felt isolated from all the food. Like when you experience that, man, all the little things in life that don't go your way don't matter. And you're like, man, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. And if there's something I got that can help somebody else, like I want to do whatever I can to help them. So yeah, man, I'm super excited. I feel like this is kind of like the frontier of some new information that, like, holy cow, could this like literally revolutionize like healthcare in America and stuff like that? And it could, if people embrace it, like it could.
Yeah, because it doesn't, as bad as modern healthcare is today for diseases, modern healthcare is great for a lot of things, like
for trauma and stuff like that.
And sometimes with Crohn's and colitis, like sometimes you got to get things cut out, emergencies and stuff like that. Like there's a use for it. Yeah. But the amazing thing about German New Medicine that totally gets completely overlooked is it explains exactly what this disease is doing. Like, because like if you, even in the holistic view, it's still like your gut's broken. It's broken, you're infected, blah, blah, blah. In German New Medicine, it's like, no, you're in this part of a program, and you're stuck in the healing phase because of tracks.
Yeah. And when
there's no hesitate, like when you understand German New Medicine, you have a concrete answer for just about everything.
I have some of my friends will come to me and they'll say, hey, like I just freaked out about this thing. What symptoms am I going to experience? Or, hey, I'm experiencing these symptoms. Like what's going on? And I've been able to help them figure some stuff out. It's pretty nuts. But when you understand when you know what to expect, you don't have to freak out anymore. Yeah. And so that's what German New Medicine provides. So yeah, dude.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing your experience, and best of luck with your future progress. And I'll be sharing more of this on the YouTube channel, but for those of you who are in the course, we have that live now. So
Yeah. And I've had people reach out to me and ask me questions. Mike's the man. He knows way more than I do. But if you want to ask me more about my personal story, whatever, feel free to shoot me a friend request or a message on Facebook. I'm happy to answer any questions with anybody, but ask Mike. He's the dude. He knows way more than I do.
I'm obsessed about it. Yeah. You just met with Caroline, and Caroline worked personally with Dr. Hammer.
Yeah.
But for the past few months, I've been sending all my video scripts to Caroline, and she's been.
Yeah, she loves you. She was like, I love Mike. He had he's very special. He had a very strong belief that didn't line up with this, and when he found it, he was willing to change. It's not often you meet people like that. So she's a fan of yours.
Oh, cool. Glad. Yeah, it's when like she's Austrian, but Dr. Hammer was German, and their attention to detail, it doesn't even make sense to our American minds. Like. No. Like, English is her second language, and she's like correcting my English, like, like little words like this and this, and it's to be correct.
Yeah.
This isn't like some hokey pokey, like be happy thing. It is very specific, very specific. A German doctor came up with it. It's very specific. So,
well, and it doesn't cost you anything. Just try it out. Like I spent over 200 grand on various things, 2 rounds of stem cells, all this stuff, trying to figure out what was going to fix me.
Yeah.
And after a couple of conversations and changing my mind and writing down some things on journals, I've been able to reverse what doctors say was irreversible and was going to kill me. And
I think the hardest part of German new medicine is just understanding it, because it's so different and weird.
I think for me, it wasn't understanding that was hard. It was believing, is it really this simple? Like, is it really that simple?
I think what happens is you try to compare it to other things that you know.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, it's like this. It's like, no, it's like
no,
this.
It's not.
No, oh, like this? No, it's like this.
No,
oh, like
totally
this.
Separate.
No, it's like this.
Forget everything you think you know. Start with a blank slate and put this on there, and then relearn some things.
Like Caroline's still doing it to me. I'm like, oh, no, it's like this.
Yeah.
So it's just getting through that, and I'm trying to help you guys get to what it really is. But like really, for most of you, it's identify and neutralize your tracks. Convince yourself that these things are safe.
And identifying tracks is literally as soon as you feel the urge to go to the bathroom or whatever symptoms you have, like that cramp or whatever, go, oh, what just happened? Did I see something? Did I hear something? Did I smell something? What emotion? And within a couple of weeks, you can identify your tracks. It's very simple.
Mm-hmm. So let's leave it at that so we don't overcomplicate it anymore.
Yes.
So thank you.
All right, buddy. Thanks,
Mike. See you, Josh. Bye.
See ya.